The gravel crunched under Logan's boots like bones breaking, each step echoing the finality of her father's voice from the kitchen window 2 nights ago. "You're not my daughter anymore. Not like this. Pack your things." She had stood there in the dim hallway of their Nebraska farmhouse, backpack slung over one shoulder, the weight of her secret love for the girl next door pressing against her ribs like a stone. Spencer. The name alone made her throat tighten. A sob caught halfway between escape and surrender. Now. At 14, Logan boarded the Greyhound bound for Massachusetts, the flat cornfields blurring into a smear of golden regret. Her reflection in the bus window a ghost with hollow cheeks and eyes too old for her face. The journey stretched like taffy, hours melting into a haze of diesel fumes and strangers' murmurs. Logan pressed her forehead against the cool glass, tracing the path of a single raindrop snaking down. Home felt like a dream already. The kind you wake from sweating, heart pounding with the terror of what you've lost. She thought of Spencer. Their stolen afternoons in the hayloft. Fingers laced under the rough blanket of twilight. Whispers of forever that tasted like wild honeysuckle. But forever send when parents find letters tucked in denim pockets. Words like I love you scrawled in pencil. Innocent as wildflowers until they're evidence of sin. Logan's mother had wept silently that morning, her hands twisting a dish rag until it frayed. But she offered no words. No plea to stay. Just a packed lunch of peanut butter sandwiches and an apple. Bruised like Logan's heart. By the time the bus wheezed into Boston, night had fallen thick as ink. Streetlights casting long shadows that swallowed Logan's small frame. She clutched her ticket stub like a talisman. The address of Elmwood Academy scribbled on the back in her father's blocky print. A taxi driver with a thick accent and kind eyes dropped her at the wrought iron gates. The school's spires looming like judgmental fingers against the starry sky. Logan paid with crumpled bills from her sock drawer savings. Then stood alone. The chill wind off the harbor biting through her thin jacket. A groundskeeper found her there at dawn, shivering but unbowed, and led her to the dean's office where tea steamed in porcelain cups. A small mercy in the storm. Elmwood was a world carved from old money and older rules. Ivy-cloaked buildings whispering of legacies unbroken by scandal. Logan was assigned a room in Hawthorne Hall, 3rd floor, with a girl named Eliza who spoke in clipped tones and avoided eye contact. The first week blurred into rituals of survival, dawn reveille. Starched uniforms that chafed like accusations. Classes where history teachers droned about manifest destiny while Logan sketched Spencer's face in the margins of her notebook, erasing it before the bell. Nights were worse. The dormitory silence broken only by creaking floorboards and the occasional muffled cry from a homesick freshman. Logan lay awake, staring at the canopy of her 4-poster bed. The ache in her chest blooming into something sharper. A grief that clawed at her lungs with every breath. She wrote letters she never sent. Pages filled with the curve of Spencer's smile. The way her laughter bubbled like creek water over stones. In them, Logan poured out the terror of being unmade. Of loving in a world that demanded straight lines and silent obedience. But the mailbox in the quad became a forbidden fruit. Each slot a reminder of the bridge burned back home. Instead, she found solace in the library. A vaulted sanctuary of oak shelves and leather-bound tomes. Where she devoured stories of outcasts and rebels. Women who loved fiercely despite the noose of society. There, amid the dust motes dancing in slanted light, Logan began to rebuild herself. Brick by tentative brick. Her resolve hardening like mortar under pressure. Fall turned to winter. The New England cold seeping into bones unprepared for it. Snow blanketed the quad in pristine white, muffling the world to a hush that mirrored Logan's inner quiet. She joined the debate club by accident, dragged there by Eliza on a whim, and found her voice in the thrust and parry of arguments. Words as weapons against the void. Her first speech, on the hypocrisy of Puritan morals, drew murmurs from the faculty, a raised eyebrow from the moderator, but applause from her peers that warmed her like cider on a frostbitten day. It was a spark, small but insistent, igniting the embers of who she might become. Spring brought thaw. And with it, the annual May Fair. A carnival of booths and laughter that softened Elmwood's edges. Logan wandered the grounds, cotton candy dissolving on her tongue, the air sweet with blooming lilacs. She paused at the fortune teller's tent, a gauzy affair strung with fairy lights, where a woman with silver rings and knowing eyes beckoned her inside. The cards laid out in a Celtic cross spoke of exile and return, of a love tested by fire but unquenched. Logan laughed it off. A brittle sound that caught in her throat. But as she stepped back into the twilight, the prediction lingered like pollen on her skin. That night, under a canopy of stars pricked through the dormitory skylight, Logan dreamed of Nebraska fields. Spencer running toward her with arms outstretched. The distance between them shrinking to nothing. She woke with tears on her cheeks. The dream fading like smoke. But the resolve solidifying. She would endure. She would learn. And one day, she would go back. Not as the broken girl they'd sent away, but as a woman whole. Her love a banner unfurled. Summer arrived with the screech of cicadas and the exodus of students to family enclaves. Logan stayed on campus. One of the few scholarships kids with nowhere to go. Working in the greenhouses to earn her keep. The soil was rich and dark. Her hands caked with it as she planted rows of heirloom tomatoes. Each seedling a metaphor for persistence. There, in the humid glass house, sweat beading on her brow, she allowed herself to remember Spencer's touch. The soft press of lips in the shadow of the old oak. The memory hurt. A sweet ache that bent her double sometimes. But it also fueled her. Pushing her through the long afternoons of solitude. By sophomore year, Logan had carved a niche. Her wit sharp as a switchblade in class discussions. Her essays praised for their raw insight. Teachers whispered of her potential. Scouts from Ivy Leagues circling like hawks. But beneath the accolades, the wound festered. Letters from home sparse and sterile. Her father's postscripts curt as telegrams. Your mother misses you. Study hard. No mention of Spencer. No bridge to the girl who'd become a phantom in her dreams. Logan stopped writing altogether. The silence a shield and a cage. One crisp October afternoon, during a field trip to Boston, Logan slipped away from the group. Drawn to the Freedom Trail like a moth to flame. She walked the red line through history's ghosts. Pausing at the Old North Church where lanterns once signaled rebellion. The air hummed with tourist chatter. But Logan felt the echo of defiance. The thrill of standing against the tide. She bought a postcard from a street vendor. The image of Paul Revere's ride bold and unapologetic. And scrawled a single line to Spencer, "I'm still writing." She didn't mail it. Tucking it into her wallet instead. A talisman against the years ahead. As the leaves turned to flame, Logan threw herself into extracurriculars. Captaining the mock trial team to nationals. Her closing arguments a symphony of logic and passion. Victory tasted like vindication. The gavel falling like judgment reversed. In the hotel ballroom after, champagne flutes clinking under chandeliers, she allowed a rare smile. The kind that reached her eyes. Eliza, now a tentative friend, raised a glass. To conquering worlds, she said. And Logan clinked back. The sound of promise kept in the quiet of her heart. Winter break loomed. A specter of return she dreaded. The dean arranged a host family in Cambridge. Academics with a menagerie of cats and intellectual debates at dinner. Logan arrived with her duffel slung low. The brownstones glowing with holiday lights that mocked her isolation. The hosts were kind. Their questions gentle probes into her past. But Logan deflected with humor. Her laugh a practiced deflection. Late nights. She wandered the Charles River esplanade. The water black as ink under the bridge's arches. Wind whipping her scarf like a flag of truce. On Christmas Eve, snow fell soft as ash, blanketing the city in hush. Logan attended midnight mass at the host's insistence. The candlelight flickering on stained glass saints who gazed down with benevolent eyes. Hymns swelled. Voices weaving a tapestry of hope. And for a moment, Logan let herself believe in redemption. In a God who mended rather than broke. She lit a candle for Spencer. Whispering her name like a prayer. The flame dancing in response. The new year dawned brittle and bright. Logan returning to Elmwood with a sketchbook full of Boston's angles. Her pencils capturing the geometry of survival. She channeled the lines into architecture electives. Dreaming of structures that withstood storms. Buildings that sheltered the outcast. Her portfolio grew. Pages of blueprints and elevations. Each one a testament to resilience. Junior year brought change. A new roommate named Riley. Bold and unfiltered. With a buzz cut and stories of protests in San Francisco. They bonded over late-night confessions. Riley's hand on Logan's shoulder a platonic anchor in the sea of longing. Through her, Logan learned of underground networks. Zines passed hand to hand with tales of queer survival. It was a lifeline. Thin but taut, pulling her from the depths. Spring fever gripped the campus. Cherry blossoms shedding petals like confetti. Logan and Riley hiked the White Mountains on a school outing. The air pine-scented and sharp. Vistas unfolding like promises. At the summit, wind-tousled and breathless, Logan shouted Spencer's name into the void. The echo returning unbroken. Riley grinned, tossing a pine cone. "She's out there," she said. "And so are you." Summer found Logan interning at a Boston firm, drafting elevations for a community center in Dorchester. Her designs infused with open spaces and light. The architect, a woman with silver streaks and steady hands, saw the fire in her sketches. "You build what you know," she told Logan over coffee, steam rising like ghosts. Logan nodded, the truth settling deep. She was building a way back. By senior year, Logan was valedictorian bound, her cap and gown armor forged in fire. Commencement day shimmered under June sun, families flooding the quad in pastel finery. Logan scanned the crowd from the podium, heart stuttering at the sight of no familiar faces from Nebraska. Her speech wove themes of exile and homecoming, words landing like stones in still water, ripples spreading. As applause thundered, she descended the stage, diploma in hand, the weight lifting just enough to breathe. Graduation night. Bonfire crackling on the lakeshore. Logan slipped away to the dock, feet dangling over dark water. Stars wheeled overhead, infinite and indifferent. She thought of Spencer, wondering if time had etched new lines on her face, if life had filled the void Logan left. A sigh escaped, long and ragged, carrying the year's ache. But in its wake came resolve, steel-edged and sure. The world awaited, vast and unforgiving, but Logan was ready to claim it. College arrived like a whirlwind. Amherst welcoming Logan with autumn foliage ablaze and lecture halls buzzing with ideas unchained. She majored in architecture, minoring in women's studies. Her days a blur of drafting tables and discussion groups where voices like hers finally echoed back. The dorm room smelled of ramen and revolution. Posters of Audre Lorde and Georgia O'Keeffe papering the walls. Logan thrived in the chaos. Her first paper on queer spaces in urban design earning a professor's nod and a spot in the campus journal. But nights brought the hollow. When the bustle faded and Spencer's absence yawned like a chasm. She dated tentatively. A girl named Mara with freckles and a poet's tongue. Their evenings tangled in sheets scented with patchouli. It was tender, exploratory, but Logan's heart held back. A locked room with Spencer's name on the key. Mara sensed it. Their breakup a gentle unraveling over coffee in the quad. Steam curling between them like unspoken regrets. Logan walked away lighter. The space cleared for healing, though the scar tissue pulled tight. Holidays pulled her west. A greyhound to Nebraska that rattled her bones. The farmhouse stood unchanged, paint peeling like old skin. Her father's truck rusted in the drive. He greeted her at the door with a gruff nod, eyes avoiding hers. The air thick with unsaid indictments. Dinner was silent, forks scraping plates. Her mother serving pie with trembling hands. Logan asked after neighbors. Casual as weather. But Spencer's name hung unspoken. A ghost at the table. That night? In her childhood room. Posters faded and bed creaking familiar. She rifled drawers for relics, finding a pressed flower from their first kiss. Brittle as memory. She drove to the old oak the next day. Dust clouding behind her borrowed Chevy. The field golden under relentless sun. The tree loomed. Branches gnarled like arthritic fingers. And Logan leaned against the trunk. Bark rough under her palms. Whispers came unbidden. Echoes of laughter and sighs. Spencer's breath warm on her neck. Tears came then. Hot and unheeded. Soaking the earth that had witnessed their bloom. A breeze stirred, carrying the faint scent of rain. And Logan straightened, wiping her face with a resolve renewed. This was not defeat, but reckoning. Back at Amherst, Logan channeled the visit into her thesis. Designing a refuge for LGBTQ youth in rural America. Blueprints sprawling with safe harbors and open skies. Professors praised its empathy. Peers debated its feasibility over beer and off-campus dives. She interned summers in Chicago. The windy city's grit a canvas for her ambitions. Sketching high-rises that pierced clouds like declarations. The firm was a hive of ambition. Late nights under fluorescent hum. Coffee black as determination. There, she met Theo. a structural engineer with a quick laugh and shared dreams. Their friendship a ballast against isolation. Junior's year abroad in London tempted. But Logan chose Portland. Oregon's rainy embrace a counterpoint to Nebraska's dust. The program focused on sustainable design. Her projects weaving green roofs and community gardens into the urban fabric. Rain pattered on cafe awnings as she sketched. Notebook sodden. Heart fuller in the misty anonymity. She visited Stonehenge on a whim. The ancient stones circling like sentinels. Wind moaning through the henge. Standing at the center, Logan felt the pull of time. The endurance of what persists against odds. She bought a pebble from the gift shop. Smooth as hope. And pocketed it for the road ahead. Senior year crested with capstone presentations. Logan's model of a queer-inclusive housing complex drawing gasps in the auditorium. The dean shook her hand afterward. Murmuring of grad school recommendations. Logan smiled. The victory bittersweet. Her gaze drifting to empty seats where family might have sat. Graduation weekend bloomed under lilac haze. Togas fluttering like sails. And Logan walked the stage with head high. Diploma a key to doors long locked. Post-college. New York swallowed her whole. The city's pulse sinking with her own. She landed a junior role at a midtown firm. Drafting elevations for a Brooklyn arts center. Her cubicle a nest of blueprints and takeout containers. The subway rides were symphonies of anonymity. Faces blurred in fluorescent glow. Allowing Logan to breathe unseen. Weekends found her in village cafes. Nursing lattes while eavesdropping on poets' laments. Or wandering highline parks where wildflowers nodded in agreement. She volunteered at a youth center in Harlem. Mentoring teens with stories mirroring her own. Their eyes wide with questions she answered with quiet truth. One boy, Jamal, sketched towers that defied gravity. And Logan saw her younger self in his lines. Fierce and unflinching. Their sessions stretched long. Laughter punctuating tears. And in those moments, Logan glimpsed redemption. The past's poison transmuted to balm. Dating flickered in and out. A barista named Lena with tattoos like maps. Their nights electric but fleeting. Lena traced Logan's scars with fingertips. Asking about the girl in Nebraska. And Logan spoke Spencer's name aloud for the first time in years. The syllables heavy as stones. It unburdened something deep. A sigh escaping like long-held breath. Lena understood. Their parting a mutual release. Leaving Logan to the city's solitary rhythm. A package arrived one autumn morning. Brown paper crinkled. Postmark from Lincoln. Logan's hands trembled opening it. Revealing a quilt pieced from childhood scraps. Spencer's handwriting on the note, thought you'd need warmth. Her mother's doing well. Logan draped it over her fire escape cot. The fabric stories weaving through dreams. Pulling her under like a tide. The firm's holiday party glittered in a Soho loft. Champagne flutes clinking under exposed beams. Logan wore a borrowed dress. Black silk whispering against her skin. And danced with abandon. The bass thrumming in her veins. A colleague, Sarah, with sharp bob and sharper wit, pulled her aside for air on the terrace. City lights sprawling below like fallen stars. They talked of dreams deferred. Sarah's own coming out a quiet war. And Logan felt the kinship. A bridge across divides. Winter gripped the city in ice. Subways delayed. Breaths clouding in doorways. Logan sketched by candlelight during blackouts. Her designs for a midtown library evolving into sanctuaries of light and line. The lead architect noticed. Pulling her onto the team. Praises landing like snowflakes. Soft but accumulating. Success warmed her. A slow thaw. But the hollow persisted. Spencer's silhouette lengthening in memory's frame. Spring unfurled in Central Park. Cherry blossoms carpeting paths pink. Logan ran the reservoir loop. Breath sinking with the city's hum. Endorphins chasing shadows. She joined a running group. Diverse faces pounding pavement. Stories shared in cool-down stretches. Among them, a woman named Jordan. Tall and thoughtful. With a therapist's calm. Their talks turned personal. Jordan's hand brushing Logan's in passing. A spark tentative but real. They explored the city together. Ferry rides to Staten Island where gulls wheeled over waves. Picnics on Governor's Island with skyline views sharp as ambition. Jordan listened to Logan's tales of boarding school exile. Her nods steady anchors. Intimacy bloomed slow. Kisses tasting of salt and possibility. But Logan's heart whispered cautions. The ghost of Spencer a gentle haunt. A conference in Seattle called. Logan's paper on inclusive design accepted. The flight west a bridge to new horizons. Rain slicked the streets. Coffee shops steaming with aroma. And she presented to a room of nodding heads. Questions flying like bridges built. Afterward. A panelist. Elena. Invited her to a queer architect's mixer in Capitol Hill. The bar pulsing with laughter and low lights. Conversations flowed. Connections sparking. And Logan felt the weave of community. Threads pulling her forward. Back in New York. Promotion whispers circulated. Her name on lips for a lead role. She celebrated with Jordan over dim sum in Chinatown. Steam rising from dumplings like aspirations. But doubt crept in. Jordan's questions about future plans probing tender spots. Logan pulled back. The dance familiar. Her solitude a chosen garment. Summer heat baked the asphalt. Mirages dancing on avenues. Logan escaped to the Hamptons on a firm's retreat. Beaches stretching white under relentless sun. She swam at dawn. Waves crashing like unresolved chords. Surfacing gasping. Salt stinging eyes. Evenings around fire pits. Colleagues sharing war stories. And Logan spoke of Nebraska roots. The words easier now. Vines loosened. A letter came then. Handwritten on linen paper. From her mother. Spencer asks about you. She's teaching now. In Lincoln. The words landed soft. A pebble in still pond. Ripples spreading. Logan folded it carefully. Tucking it beside the postcard. The pull homeward strengthening like muscle memory. Fall semester vibes lingered in the city. Leaves crunching underfoot. Logan enrolled in night classes at Parsons. Refining her craft. Sketches evolving into visions of sustainable spires. Jordan faded gracefully. Their last coffee a fond farewell. Leaving Logan to the canvas of self. Thanksgiving loomed. Invitation from her mother tentative but open. Logan boarded the train west. Heart a drumbeat unsteady. Nebraska welcomed with chill winds. The farmhouse lights a beacon faint. Dinner was warmer this time. Her father's silence less edged. Small talk bridging chasms. After. She drove to Spencer's address. A modest bungalow on the outskirts. Porch light glowing like invitation. She didn't knock. Just sat in the car. Engine idling. Watching shadows move behind curtains. A figure passed. Chestnut hair catching lamplight. And Logan's breath hitched. Years collapsing in a sigh. She drove away before resolve cracked. The road unspooling like thread. Back in New York. The firm tapped her for a dream project. Redesigning a queer youth center in Chelsea. Her blueprint's heart poured into every line. Groundbreaking ceremonies buzzed with press. Shovels turning earth. Logan's smile captured in flashes. Success crested. But the letter burned in her pocket. Spencer's life a parallel track diverging yet near. Winter solstice brought snow to Manhattan. Flurries veiling streets in white. Logan walked the village. Carols drifting from brownstones. Pausing at a bookstore window where titles on resilience beckoned. Inside. She bought a volume on homecomings. Pages dog-eared by dawn. Words resonating deep. The new year dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered to the skyline. Logan applied to grad programs. Columbia calling with scholarships. Her acceptance letter a key turning. Move-in day. Boxes stacked in Morningside Heights. The apartment overlooking the quad. Bookshelves waiting to be filled. Classes challenged. Professors pushing boundaries. Logan's theses on adaptive reuse of historic spaces earning accolades. Peers became friends. Study sessions stretching into philosophical marathons. Laughter echoing off high ceilings. Spring break pulled her south to New Orleans. A firm's conference on resilient design post-Katrina. The city pulsed with jazz and ghosts. French Quarter alleys narrow with history. Logan wandered Preservation Hall. Saxophone wailing like hearts mended. Buying a beignet dusted sugar white as forgiveness. Back north. Her mother's calls grew frequent. Voices softening. Hints of family healing. Logan visited again that summer. The farmhouse garden blooming riotous. Her father's handshake firmer. Words grunted about pride in her work. Spencer remained unspoken. But the air hummed with possibility. By thesis defense. Logan stood poised. Slides clicking through visions of inclusive cities. Committee nods sealing her masters. Celebration dinner in a West Village bistro. Wine flowing red as resolve. Toasts to futures bright. The job offer followed. Senior architect at a progressive firm in San Francisco. The Bay Area's fog a siren call. Logan packed with deliberation. The quilt folded atop clothes. Nebraska in her rearview but not forgotten. The cross-country drive was pilgrimage. Highways unspooling through heartland and mountains. Radio static giving way to podcasts on queer icons. She stopped in Chicago for a night. Sketching the bean under sodium glow. Reflections infinite. Arriving in the Bay. Fog rolling off the hills. Logan signed the lease on a loft in the Mission. Murals vibrant as dreams deferred. The firm buzzed with innovation. Her first project a community hub in the Castro. Designs weaving history with hope. Months blurred into rhythm. Mornings at Pete's with oat milk lattes. Evenings hiking Twin Peaks. City lights sprawling below like constellations reclaimed. Dating paused. The solitude fertile ground for growth. A conference in LA pulled her south. Palm trees swaying against smog. Panels on equity in design. There, in a hotel ballroom, she spotted a familiar profile. But shook it off as mirage. Fall brought earthquakes small. The city shaking off dust. Logan's footing steady. She volunteered at a local center. Mentoring again. Faces young and fierce mirroring her past. Thanksgiving found her hosting. Potluck in the loft. Friends bringing tamales and stories. Gratitude circled the table. Logan's toast to returns landing soft. Winter rains lashed windows. Logan's sketches evolving. A book proposal simmering on queer architecture. Agents nibbled. The contract a spark. Spring bloomed defiant. Poppies carpeting hills. Logan ran the Golden Gate. Bridge cables humming like harps. Wind carrying whispers home. A package arrived. Quilt returned with a note, Spencer's. From Mom. Logan's fingers traced the stitches. Heart stuttering. She booked the flight east. Resolve a quiet thunder. The plane touched down in Omaha under a sky bruised purple. Turbulence lingering in Logan's limbs like unresolved tension. Rental car humming west on I-80. Cornfields whispering secrets. She gripped the wheel white-knuckled. Spencer's bungalow address punched into GPS like a dare. Dusk painted the horizon gold. Fireflies winking in ditches. A homecoming scripted in firelight. Parking curbside. Engine ticking cool. Logan sat motionless. Porch light spilling warm across the lawn. A swing creaking empty. Footsteps on gravel finally propelled her out. Boots scuffing path worn smooth by routines. The door opened before her knock. Spencer framed in threshold glow. Mid-30s grace in jeans and sweater. Chestnut curls loose. Eyes widening in shock that softened to wonder. Logan. The name a breath. A prayer answered. They stood frozen. Air thick with years' weight. Until Spencer stepped forward. Arms opening tentative. And Logan folded into them. Sobs muffled in wool. The embrace a dam breaking. Inside. The living room hummed domestic. Bookshelves sagging with paperbacks. A cat curling on the hearthrug. They sank onto the couch. Knees brushing. Words tumbling awkward at first. Spencer poured tea steaming chamomile. Hands steady though voice trembled. I followed your work. She said. Clippings yellowed in a drawer. The youth centers. The designs. You're building worlds I only dreamed of. Logan sipped. Scalding her tongue. The burn a welcome anchor. And you? Teaching third graders poetry. Shaping minds before they harden. Spencer's laugh bubbled low. Self-deprecating. They think metaphors are magic tricks. We make it work. Conversation wove through decades. Gaps filled with gentle probes. Spencer's life unfolded, college in Denver for education. Return to Lincoln for family roots. A quiet coming out to friends who stayed true. No grand loves. She admitted. Gaze dropping to her mug. Just echoes of one that got away. Logan's chest tightened. The admission a mirror to her own trail of almosts. I never stopped. She whispered. Reaching for Spencer's hand. Fingers lacing natural as breathing. The room hushed. Clock ticking soft. The cat purring approval. They walked the backyard after. Moon rising fat and silver. Garden rows neat with tomatoes and herbs. Spencer pointed out the oak from afar. Its silhouette sentinel. Remember the hayloft. Logan nodded. Throat closing. The memory vivid as fresh ink. We were brave then. Spencer squeezed her hand. Still are. Laughter came then. Shared and healing. Chasing shadows to the fence's edge. Morning dawned bright. Coffee brewing strong. Eggs sizzling in cast iron. Logan's father called. Voice gruff over speaker. Saw your article in the paper. Proud. He muttered. The word foreign on his tongue. Hanging up. Logan exhaled long. The knot in her belly loosening threads. Spencer watched. Eyes soft. He's trying. We all are. They drove to the old farm. Dust devils dancing in fields. The house sagging but standing. Logan's mother enveloped her in flower-dusted hug. Pie cooling on sill. Talk flowed easier. Anecdotes of grandkids' neighbors. The years chipping away barbs. Father lingered on porch. Pipe smoke curling. Finally meeting her eyes. I was wrong. He said. Gravel in throat. About a lot. Logan nodded. Tears pricking. The absolution a bomb slow spreading. Afternoon found them at the creek. Bare feet in shallows. Skipping stones that plipped silver arcs. Spencer splashed her. Playful as girls. Water beating on skin like jewels. Logan retaliated. Chase ending in tumble on bank. Grass tickling necks. Breaths mingling close. The kiss came natural. Tentative brush of lips. Then deepening. Hands cupping faces. Time suspending in the rush. It tasted of salt and sweet. Forgiveness and fire. Pulling them under like current. Evenings stretched lazy. Dinners of farmstand bounty. Wine loosening tongues. Spencer read poetry aloud. Autumn verses curling smoke. Logan's head on her shoulder. Fingers tracing collarbones. They spoke of futures tentative. San Francisco's pull versus Lincoln's roots. Compromises sketched like blueprints. No rush. Spencer murmured. But the possibility hummed electric. A week blurred into rhythm. Mornings tangled in sheets. Sunlight slanting gold through blinds. Logan sketched the bungalow. Additions in mind, studio for Spencer. Library nook for them both. Spencer taught her a lesson plan. Kids' drawings crayoned wild. Laughter echoing off kitchen tiles. Departure loomed. Flight booked reluctant. At the airport. Embrace lingered. Spencer's whisper hot on ear. Come back soon. Logan nodded. Boarding pass crumpled. The plane lifting her west with heart fuller. San Francisco welcomed fog-shrouded. The loft echoing empty at first. Work absorbed. The Castro project groundbreaking under rainbow flags. Shovels turning soil symbolic. Logan poured passion into details, quiet rooms for stories shared. Gardens for breaths caught. Nights brought calls. Voices bridging miles. Spencer's tales of classroom chaos. Logan's of client quirks. Video chats flickered faces close. Smiles sinking across screens. The distance chafed. But sweetened the ache. Anticipation building like storm. Fall conference in Denver pulled Logan central. Excuse thin but true. They met midway. Hotel room overlooking Rockies. Snow-capped peaks indifferent. Reunion ignited. Bodies rediscovering maps. Sighs punctuating silences. Mornings over diner pancakes. Plans solidified, Spencer applying for transfers west. Logan's firm scouting remote options. Thanksgiving in the Bay. Loft filled with borrowed family. Turkey roasting. Friends toasting bridges built. Spencer arrived eve. Flight delayed but worth. Her hug dispersing doubts. They hosted together. Seamless as dance. Laughter weaving through tamales and toasts. Winter rains lashed. But inside warmed. Spencer subletting nearby. Commutes short. She guest taught at a Castro school. Kids wide-eyed at her Midwest twang. Logan picking up after. Sketches of playgrounds shared. Spring bloomed riotous. Cherry blossoms carpeting Valencia Street. They hiked Muir Woods. Redwoods towering ancient. Hands clasped on fern paths. At a clearing. Spencer knelt. Ring simple gold. Marry me. She said. Eyes shining. Logan yes tumbling out. Embrace fierce under canopy. Wedding plans unfolded gentle. City hall simple. Vows exchanged under June sun. Witnesses friends in sundresses. Reception in the loft. String lights twinkling. Cake layered lemon. Dances swaying slow. Honeymoon in Big Sur. Cliffs dropping to Pacific roar. Cabin wood smoke scented. Days hiking trails wildflower lined. Nights firelit. Stories retold in whispers. The ocean crashed constant, eroding edges, leaving smooth truths. Back home, life settled deeper. Spencer's job at a progressive elementary. Logan's promotion to principal. Projects spanning queer centers nationwide. Evenings on the fire escape. Wine shared. City humming below. Anniversary first. Dinner at a hole-in-wall taqueria. Memories toasted spicy. A trip east followed. Nebraska visit healing. Father's handshake warm. Mother's tears joy. Years layered. Challenges met, Spencer's miscarriage quiet grief. Logan's firm merger stress. But together weathered. Therapy sessions tools honed. They adopted a rescue dog. Mutt with soulful eyes. Walks sinking steps. Logan's book published. Queer Spaces, Designing Belonging. Launches in bookstores coast to coast. Spencer beaming front row. Reviews praise depth. Sales steady. Talks booked. Mid-40s found them solid. Lines etching faces like maps well-traveled. Spencer opened a literacy nonprofit. Classrooms blooming in underserved hoods. Logan consulting pro bono. A scare came. Logan's diagnosis early breast cancer. Treatments grueling but met head-on. Spencer's vigil constant. Hands holding through chemo fog. Recovery slow but sure. Remission declared. They traveled Italy. Venice canals gondola swayed. Rome ruins whispering endurance. Gelato dripped chin. Laughter free. Home again. Garden planted rooftop. Herbs thriving. Dog chasing shadows. Evenings reading aloud. Voices blending harmony. 50th birthday Spencer. Surprise party Castro bar. Drag queens toasting queens. Logan gifted custom blueprints, expansion plans. Family dreams hinted. They fostered teens. Queers needing anchor. Home echoing new voices. Lessons learned reciprocal. Logan's TED Talk viral. Stages lit with passion. Messages flooding of lives touched. Spencer watched beaming. Pride tangible. Winter 60th. Snow rare in bay. They drove Sierra. Cabin fire crackling. Mulled wine steaming. Reflections shared. Regrets few. Gratitudes vast. Retirement loomed gentle. Logan's firm legacy secured. Spencer's nonprofit thriving. Travels planned, Japan cherry blossoms. Iceland auroras. Daily rhythms sacred, coffee black. Walks dawnlit. Touches casual profound. One evening. Sunset painting bridge orange. Spencer leaned head on shoulder. We made it. She murmured. Logan kissed temple. Triumph. Every day. Decades wove onward. Threads silvered but strong. The loft traded for a craftsman in No Valley. Bay windows framing views of pastel row houses and distant fog. Logan and Spencer's mornings began with birdsong filtering through oaks. Coffee percolating on the stove. The dog long gone but his successor. A wiry terrier named Echo. Yipping for walks. They moved slower now. Joints protesting stairs. But the rhythm held. A dance refined by time. Logan sketched still. Not for clients but pleasure. Elevations of imagined homes for wayward souls. Her book, a second edition, expanded with case studies of resilience. Spencer's nonprofit flourished. Satellites in rural outposts. Classrooms where kids penned poems of self-discovery. Voices once silenced now chorusing. She mentored directors young and fierce. Passing the baton gradual. Her office a haven of dog-eared anthologies and children's art crayoned bold. Evenings. They gardened terraced slopes. Tomatoes ripening red as first kisses. Herbs clipped for pesto that evoked Italian summers. Dinner conversations meandered. From global news to neighborhood gossip. Laughter punctuating pauses. Hands brushing across tablecloths worn soft. Family grew patchwork, nieces from Spencer's sister. Summer visits filled with barbecues and board games. Kids tumbling lawns like puppies. Logan's kin mended further. Her father passing peaceful at 90. Graveside words unspoken but felt. Her mother relocating west to a bungalow near. Sunday brunches, her apple pies flaky as forgiveness. They hosted Thanksgiving sprawling. Tables groaning under turkey and tamales. Toast circling to roots reclaimed. Travel beckoned insistent. Passports stamped with adventures, Machu Picchu trails mist-shrouded. Terraces echoing Incan whispers, Kenyan safaris where elephants lumbered graceful. Savannah sunsets painting acacia gold. Each journey etched new lines, Stories fodder for letters to Mence. Postcards mailed home with Spencer's flourish. Jet lag lingered. But so did wonders. Shared in bed with limbs entangled. Breath-sinking dreams. A health dip for Spencer. Arthritis flaring winter. But yoga classes gentled it. Logan's massages oil-slick solace. They adapted. Ramps installed discreet. But spirit unbowed. Volunteering tandem at the center. Logan's talks on design inspiring teen sketches. Spencer's readings sparking verses. 70s crested. Hair fully silver. Logan's cropped practical. Spencer's braided loose. They renewed vows quiet. City Hall again. Officiant a former foster kid grown lawyer. Rings exchanged simple. Kiss sealing eternities. Picnic followed Dolores Park. Sandwiches prosciutto. Wine chilled. Stranger smiles blessing. Logan's third book. Co-authored with Spencer. Love in the Lines, Queer Lives Built. Launched virtual amid pandemic echoes. But resilience theme resonated. Webinars packed with faces hungry. Royalties funded scholarships. Ripples widening. Pandemic years tested. Isolation chafing. But they zoomed kin. Baked sourdough crusty. Hiked empty trails eucalyptus scented. Vaccines came. Hugs returned. Caution easing to joy. 80s dawn tentative. Bodies frilier. But minds sharp. Puzzles scattered coffee tables. Debates over headlines lively. Spencer taught online workshops. Poetry bridging screens. Logan guest lectured architecture ethics. Pixels carrying passion. A fall for Logan. Hip replaced Swift. Rehab grueling but Spencer's cheer squad unwavering. Cards from old colleagues piling nightstand. Recovery walks short at first. Echo tugging leash. Progress measured in blocks. They fostered again. An elder queer displaced. Couch temporary but stories permanent. Evenings 3 voices weaving tapestries. 90ths twinned close. Parties hybrid. Cake layered chocolate. Speeches heartfelt. Logan gifted Spencer a locket engraved Our Triumph. Spencer's return a quilt remade. Patches from travel sewn. Winters milder. But chills prompted fleeces. Teas herbal steaming. They watched sunsets from deck chairs. Bridge lights twinkling Morse code. Spring always surprised. Jacaranda's purple carpet. Renewal ritual. Garden tended slow. Knees patted. Blooms defiant. 1 July 4th. Fireworks bursting Baywood. They danced kitchen slow. Radio crooning standards. Steps shuffled but sure. Spencer's head tucked chin. Logan's arms circle waist. World fading to 2. Autumn brought harvest fair. Pies judged blue ribbon. Grandkids oohing steam. Evenings reading mutual. Alternating chapters. Voices hoarse but fond. Thanksgiving 60th together. Table smaller kin departed. But fuller memories. Toasts lingered. Gratitudes listed long. Holiday lights strung balcony. Carols hummed off key. Gifts wrapped paper crinkled. New Year's Eve. Champagne fizzing. Resolutions whispered soft, more tomorrows. January's chill. But hearthfire crackles. Blankets shared couch. Spencer naps lap. Logan strokes hair. Time liquid. February Valentine's. Roses delivered self. Card penned verse Spencer's hand. Dinner candlelit. Pasta twirled. Eyes locking deep. March winds. Walks brisk. Echo bounding. Conversations meandering memory lanes. April showers. Seed sown pots. Green thumbs hopeful. Rain patters roof. Lullaby. May blooms. Lilacs heady. Anniversaries 35th from renewal. Cake shared fork. June pride. Parade watched balcony. Rainbows waving. Heart swelling. July heat. Fans whirring. Iced tea sweating. Stories retold shaded. August lazy. Hammock sways. Books open laps. Dozes gentle. September equinox. Balances tipped grace. Reflections journals inked. October leaves. Though scarce. Walks crunch imagined. Soup simmered. November bode. Gratitude journals filled. Thanks listed infinite. December solstice. Lights twinkling. Yule log burns. Wishes whispered. Centennials loomed. But days savored singular. Routine sacraments. 1 dawn. Spencer wakes first. Coffee brewing quiet. Logan stirring slow. They sit window seat. Sun gilding faces. Hands clasped eternal. Words few now. But meanings vast. Glances speaking volumes. Echo curls feet. Purring contentment. Afternoon naps tandem. Dreams shared subconscious. Evening stirs. Soup ladled bowls. Bread torn. Bedtime rituals, teeth brushed side by side. Pajamas flannel soft. Lights dim. Bodies spoon. Breaths harmonize. In quiet hours. Logan thinks of the girl on the bus. Gravel crunching. Eyes hollow. That girl triumphed. Love her compass true. Spencer murmurs sleep slurred. Love you always. Logan replies echo. Always. The end comes gentle. Spencer's passing spring. Cherry petals falling soft. Logan holds hand final. Whispers triumphs tallied. Grief folds her small. But community cradles. Kin circling close. Memorial garden planted. Bloom Spencer's favorites. Logan endures. Sketches memorials. Book forth on enduring loves. Talks fewer. But impact lingers. Letters from inspired souls. Years solo stretch. But echoes fill, Spencer's laugh and wind. Touch and sun. Echo aged. Walk slow. Companion faithful. 95th. Party quiet. Cake single slice. Toasts internal. Dawn walks persist. Cane tapping rhythm. Bay views eternal. One twilight. Logan sits bench park. Spencer planted roses nearby. Sunset dips ocean blood. Bridge silhouette strong. She sighs content. Years canvas painted full. Triumphant. Yes. In love rebuilt. World kinder her wake. The light fades slow. Stars pricking velvet. Logan's eyes close peaceful. Spencer waits. Arms open. Forever home.